Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's the Day Ghost.
Whoa!
It's time once again for our Friday shenanigans show. We do various different things on Fridays, voted on by our $5 Patreon tier, and thanks a bunch to those guys. This time they chose out of a list of 4 horror films Candyman from 1992, a film that I have been real remiss in never seeing because Austin, I love Tony Todd. He's one of my favorite actors of all time, and I never bothered to see Candyman because I'm not a horror person. And it's another movie like The Fly that the way people talked about it, I was always like, I don't care about that. Like, I like Tony Todd, but I don't care enough to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because Tony Todd is like a horror icon. That's like the main thing that like a lot of people know him for.
And I had exactly the same thing with Jeffrey Combs for the longest time, where
Mm-hmm.
he's also kind of a horror icon, maybe to a lesser degree. And I know him from his TV work. I know both of these guys as character actors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and Jeffrey Combs, I don't think like has something like a Tony Todd with like Final Destination, and he's not in like in those a lot, but like that's like one of the big things that like fans of that series are like, yeah, like when's Tony Todd gonna show up in this movie?
I guess I
So it's
forgot about that. Yeah, I've
so it's
seen
like yeah.
maybe one. I mean, I saw the first one. I don't know if I've seen any more of those, but it's been so long, I forgot all about them.
I mean, they're basically all the same movie.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, my favorite thing to make fun of with that was always and I like once I saw the movie, I kind of got it, but out of context, like the Final Destination trilogy, it's called the Final Destination.
Well, now there's 5 of them.
Yeah, and I think a remake, right?
Yeah, I think John Watts is doing like, or is at least producing it.
Oh, weird. So anyway, this is a thing that once again, like The Fly, was undersold to me. I should have watched this years ago and enjoyed it a great deal more than I thought I would. I don't think I like it as much as The Fly, but
Mm.
but I really liked it. And also, unlike The Fly, this movie bothered me. This movie hurt my feelings. Like I got too invested in this main character, and I really felt for her plight, and it kind of hit me in a place. And I might get made fun of for that because I know this is one of those movies that's thought of as like a fun slasher movie. You watch it because it's fun, and like I get some of that, but it's too much of a real movie for me to entirely have that. Like it turns into a slasher thing, and and I'm sure some people feel like it degenerates into a slasher thing. And I guess it just depends on who you are, where you'd fall in that. But
See, and I don't even think of Candyman as a slasher. I don't know about the sequels. I'm guessing it probably becomes more and more that, just like Hellraiser does. But I don't like. There's people that die in it, yeah. But like, I've never really considered this a slasher movie.
I've heard people talk about Candyman like he was kind of invented to try to compete with those other slashers and to be, in the same breath as your Freddy Krueger and your Jason Voorhees and all of that. And when it came out, it was talked about that way, even by movie critics, of like, oh, okay, this is an attempt at a franchise vehicle. Ebert and Siskel and Ebert liked it, Siskel didn't, but they talk about it, and even Ebert kind of agrees with this, and I don't know that I do, that it was probably a better and smarter script at some point, and then they decided to make it really commercial. I don't think that's how this movie came together. When you read about the director and how he developed it from the initial short story. I think Austin's got to go get his cat. Maybe is that
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah. Sorry.
And now a tour of Austin's house.
Get in. There we go.
So you couldn't just like bring her in the first place? Did you have to like wait for her to get to the door?
Yeah, because she like where my like the house is, it's like you have the door and then like a little bit and then there's windows, and she always scratches at the windows instead of at the door.
She's scratching at the door.
Scraping at the door. See,
Matthew Bay says it's more of a
we
ghost
should
story
do
than a
that movie at some
slasher.
point.
I think it pretty easily fits both of those categories, but and we'll go ahead and watch it now. I don't want to just sit here and review it, but what I found really refreshing about it is that it didn't fall into a lot of the same tropes and traps of a lot of the slasher movies that I don't care for, and I much prefer a good ghost story and like this kind of urban legend thing than I do your traditional slasher villain. But I also think it's cathartic in the way a lot of slasher movies are.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of that. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just the. Sorry, I'm moving around because I just realized my wires are going to be all crossed with how I had the movie set up.
Don't cross the streams.
Yeah. um, I guess I just kind of see it in that, like, in the same boat as Hellraiser, where it's like, it's like, I guess there's like slasher elements, but it's not really that. Um,
And
I
I
don't
don't
know.
have
My
enough
brain kind of lumps
experience,
these two
so I've
together.
not seen enough things that probably cross the subgenres or more difficult to quantify to put in a box.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, like it's yeah, I guess it technically counts, but it's
I'm
in that time period where the slashers are falling off a cliff.
yeah, and this would feel, I think, in 1992 like really refreshing and like, oh, somebody like kind of tried to tell a story and it's about some things and like the genesis of the killer and the ideas there, the social commentary are like kind of thoughtful actually.
Yeah, exactly. We're going back to like how the genre started as opposed to where it was in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to go ahead and watch it together, folks.
Yeah.
As it says in the thumbnail, it's a commentary. This movie is an hour and 40 minutes, not super long. I'm watching it on Peacock. That's where it's currently available for streaming. It might be on a couple of other streaming sites too. I forget now. But if you want to watch it there, you have to get past the commercials. And you know what? I forgot to put a timer on the screen
Oh boy.
like I usually like to do, Austin. So I tell you what, I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes to pull it up and to watch through the commercials in case they have to do that while I'm pulling up a timer, because I don't have one built in right now to this particular scene on OBS. So sorry for not being as prepared as I should be, folks.
Dang it.
Well, it could be worse. I could have cats scratching at my door.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Scratching at the door.
I was hoping to pick up the 4K releases for this and Christine this week, but it didn't end up happening because I think this only just got released in the last like month or so, the last few months.
Oh, interesting. I knew there was one out, but I didn't know when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something about that, and I didn't know how new it was.
Yeah, no, I want to say it's a more recent one, but I could be wrong about that.
You guys are gonna get to see the behind the scenes here. This is me putting the timer together.
Look at all of those softwares that you could click into.
The softwares. Anyway, okay, so we've got our timer now. Put it right over your head.
You should move, like, shift it a little. Put it right in between us.
Oh, like that?
No, like, down, where it's, like, actually, like, in our way. Yeah, like that.
Oh, right there. Why would I do that?
Because it'd be really amusing.
For you.
Exactly.
For 3 seconds, and we could clock how long it was amusing. Because it's right there. Anyway, okay, everybody good? Now we've got a timer. Everybody set up and ready to go. Austin, real quick, let me say, you mentioned you kind of want to buy this movie. This is a movie I think I would buy now, and The Fly is that way as well. I don't have much of a horror collection and haven't really cared to, but these are movies that spoke to me, interestingly, and I'll have a few things to say. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I was thinking today, I've shaped your October between this, The Fly, and Medieval.
Yeah, you really have, because you've kind of changed my perspective on some things a little bit. I'm like, oh, there's more variety in this genre than I thought there was, with some of the classics that I thought were more B-movie-ish, that I was kind of led to believe that both this and The Fly were movies that were kind of, more low budget and maybe kind of more niche in their appeal, and they're both kind of good, thoughtful Hollywood movies. Like, they're definitely commercial pieces.
No, absolutely.
I'm not saying that makes you a good movie. I was just surprised.
No, and this is one of those movies that I didn't see until a few years ago, but like if you bring up Candyman, my mom freaks out. Like it's like, oh, she's like, no, I can't handle that. Don't mention that name to me.
Yeah, I don't get scared by movies anymore. This has some legitimately creepy things in it. Like it's not like I couldn't get through it, but there's some stuff where I was like, oh yeah, and The Fly with some of the body horror maybe a little bit, but with this a lot more so. I'm like, oh, this is unnerving,
Yeah, no, my
and my
mom's at the
feelings were
point
hurt. Like I
where
said,
I don't even think she can see Tony Todd in a movie. Yeah, I remember her and I were watching Doctor Strange, and I was explaining that whole thing to her with Dormammu, and she was just like, "Nope, I couldn't do it. If it was his voice, I couldn't watch this."
that's
It's
amazing.
like, oh, okay.
And I can point her to all kinds of Tony Todd performances where he's not scary and he's playing like, and not villains and like heroic or just, altruistic characters. Because
Of
Todd's
course.
got range. His voice doesn't. He's always going to sound like that, and that's part of what makes him wonderful. But Tony
Yeah.
Todd's got real range. My favorite, and even beyond this, my favorite Tony Todd performance is still in Star Trek Deep Space Nine as the older Jake Sisko in the future. Like, he plays Sisko's kid elderly, and it's
Oh, weird.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's weird.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm getting all my best anecdotes out now, so we should probably get started.
Mhm.
Slipmaker says, I agree. I always thought Candyman had a pretty solid hook. Well done. All right, get to timestamp
Well, and you
zero.
always thought this was a B movie.
I did. I did. It turns out it is a B movie. Every
Mhm.
I read something
The
interesting about
Jerry
that too.
Seinfeld one.
Everybody get to timestamp zero and get ready to press play. When I say now, we're just about to do that. Everybody, please press play right now. So right away, I'll tell you an amusing anecdote that I read today, and fans of this movie will already know this. But apparently, Tony Todd really wanted to work with this director, and I'm not totally sure why, because this is not a director I've seen anything else from, but he's a UK director, and he was willing to go through the inevitable bee stings to do it, and and it didn't even occur to me, oh yeah, this is all done practically. There's like real bees on set. You're
Well,
gonna
they're like
get
in his mouth.
yeah, you're gonna get stung by them, and that whole thing is nuts. What he had to do for that,
Yeah.
but anyway, so his people were like, I don't know if you should accept this part. You're gonna get stung by bees, and it was in his contract. He got a $1,000 bonus for every bee sting, and he got
Yep.
stung 23 times. So
Yep.
he got
No,
23 grand for bee stings on top of his salary.
yeah, no, it's awesome.
It's so good.
That's such a good negotiation. Yeah.
I love Tony Todd so much. That's genius that he was like, yeah, I'll do it. You're gonna pay me $1,000 every time I get stung.
At that point, I'd just be like pissing off the bees.
Robert Wilde says the music in this movie is so freaking good.
Absolutely.
It is. And it's, it's pretty unnerving from the beginning.
Yeah, it's got like a gothic feel to it, but also modern. Like it strikes a balance between the two.
Yeah, I'll say toward the end in the third act, I thought that it went a little bit too far with the organ music. I thought it started to get a little trite with that. I
Okay.
didn't mind all this choral stuff through it.
Mhm.
And some of that is kind of, I think, intentionally harkening back to the past because our killer is from the 19th century.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's part of it too.
At least sort of loosely. So yeah, somebody asked if this was a Clive Barker movie, Draven G. It is, in that it's based on a short story he wrote. I don't know how involved he was with this movie.
I have no idea either. So obviously with Hellraiser, like he wrote the novella and then he actually directed it himself. But I don't know about this one. I also don't know how close it is to that story. I'd definitely like to read it though.
Yeah, the only thing I know about that story is that it's set in London, and that racial issues are still what that story's all about, and that
Okay.
it's about segregation and all of that, but focuses on that a lot more than the movie does.
Oh,
And
interesting.
Rose, the director, gets a hold of it, and it and it's weird because again he's a UK director. You'd think he'd shoot it there, and he got kind of stuck on Chicago and all of the you know issues with the projects and stuff, and so went and tried to find like a real place that would make sense to film there and make the movie about.
Hmm.
And that's why it ends up being in Cabrini Green, which of course is an area that I'd never heard of before this movie, and didn't even right off know if that was a real place or not, but it is.
Well, and that's in the Suicide Squad issue where they talk about Candyman and they talk about Cabrini Green.
That's so weird. So, like you said when you messaged me yesterday, Austin, it all comes full circle now.
Yeah, we got Ted Raimi. Everything connected for this month. It's really weird.
What are the odds of that? Yeah, I was shocked. Not shocked, but I was kind of surprised when I saw him because I'm like, well, this is not a Raimi thing.
Hmm.
And he's a character actor. He's in other stuff, but I didn't know he was in any other horror stuff besides things that Raimi made. And this feels like a Raimi cameo because I thought maybe he'd come back, but he just shows up here.
Hmm.
I thought he'd come back when I saw him at the beginning. I was like, oh, is he like in this? And then no, he's just here for this scene.
No, more movies should just have Ted Raimi should be in every movie like Stan Lee was in every Marvel movie. He should just have a cameo in every movie ever made.
He should just show up to make out with girls, and then
Yeah,
attacks happen.
absolutely.
So obviously the first thing that came to my mind looking at this, because I didn't even know anything about the premise of Candyman. I had seen a screenshot of Tony Todd in the role and always thought it was kind of weird that he didn't have more of a like real specific, more iconic kind of look. It's like, well, he's got a hook and he's got a coat. Like, I did not understand that. Nothing is done with his face at all. It's just Tony Todd's face. I was like, that's weird. And by the way, having seen the movie, I still think it's a little weird. I still think they could have gone a little bit further with doing something that would
Something with the design.
yeah, that would just kind of grab you and immediately be again iconic. Where like when you saw that, you'd know, oh yes, that's Candyman. Tony Todd wanted an eye patch, and they wouldn't let him have it.
Oh, interesting. That would have been cool.
Yeah, but that's all I knew about this movie, and I forget what I was driving at.
Well, I wonder how much of this design is like 100% just what they were looking at with I Know What You Did Last Summer, because it's just a hook and a raincoat.
Oh, maybe so. Is he in that too?
No.
No, I've seen that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't think I ever saw I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
That just got a TV show, I think.
It did. Because
Yeah.
all of these things are getting TV shows now.
And multiplayer only games.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say a minute ago is coming to this movie not really knowing the premise, the first thing I thought of, obviously, was the urban legend of Bloody Mary. And I'm like, oh, okay, they made a Bloody Mary movie, but they... But the twist is it's about... It's about the projects, and it's about racism, and it's about, bigotry and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very similar kind of game where you do that. You say his name.
Apparently, also in the short story, Candyman doesn't have a backstory. And in the movie, Tony Todd himself came up with it.
Oh, weird.
And Rose put it in the script. Yeah. Like, Tony Todd has... like more than just an acting hand in this movie. Like he has a lot to do with why it's shaped and looks the way it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just had a hand in development. That's really interesting.
He really had his hook in it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how the sequels are to this movie because I've never heard anyone talk about them. So I don't know if it just immediately falls off a cliff or if they're just kind of okay.
And he's in them.
Yep.
I looked that up because I was like, oh, I wonder if he leaves at some point. No, he's in all three of them. And I guess he's in the new one too. Is he?
I think it's 100% just a reshoot because I heard for months about how he wasn't in it, and then he like flashes on screen for a second at the end.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So like that's definitely a reshoot.
But isn't that movie not supposed to be a remake? Like I thought that was another direct sequel.
No, so my understanding of that movie is about the baby in this movie, and he's like becoming Candyman due to his relation to Candyman in this movie. Yeah. What's the main guy is what's that, sorry?
Sorry, I don't want that.
Yeah. Well, the main guy in that is New Morpheus. So apparently his just role in Hollywood is to just take like famous black characters and be the like Wish.com version of them.
And replace them for not enough of a good reason?
Yeah.
I think he's an okay actor. And I sorta got it with Morpheus. I still think you maybe could have contrived something. But if you're gonna do a direct sequel, and unless your argument is just, well, he's not supposed to age and Tony Todd looks too old now.
No, the big thing that I remember hearing about that movie is that they were doing like different hives of Candymen. Like they were bringing up that idea, like
hives,
because bees. That was the thing I remember them talking about at the time.
Okay.
And that director is
so you're saying the only way that he could
the Marvels.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So that director is the woman doing the Marvels.
Oh,
that's
weird.
A Jordan Peele script, but she directed it.
So you're saying the reason, and I mean obviously it's caked in mystery, and this is one of those conceits where it's supernatural, it's ethereal, we don't fully understand why it happens. It's like the universe is giving the Candyman the ability to come back and get revenge on the world for wronging him, right? But so it's very much like The Crow in that way, except I mean it's a different kind of mythology, but it's the same sort of thing where it's like it's not a real explanation. It's the supernatural thing that somehow happens. But basically, you'd be telling me with the hive idea that it's all about the bees, and that if it wasn't bees that killed him, he would have never become the Candyman. Like my assumption was just he's a wraith, and there's maybe some other race we don't know about that this kind of thing happens with, and if people believe in them, they exist, and if they don't exist, which is a decent explanation for why you wouldn't have too many of them running around.
Well, maybe Bloody Mary is a different hive.
Hive. That's ridiculous. Well, and like it's stupid because she's not bee themed at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess he kind of creates her, or gives her immortality, but
no, I think like he just becomes Candyman, like Tony Todd. Because remember that.
One of the things that struck me, God, I'm probably not gonna watch that.
I just don't like Jordan Peele in general, so I never bothered with it. But
okay.
It was a movie I heard people talk about.
Well, let me know. I mean, I don't hate him, but somebody tell me if that's worth watching or not. One of the things that struck me about this movie right away is that it's not leaning on like silly or contrived or like unrealistic dialogue in going, we're a horror film and we're cheesy and we can, get away with anything we want to because we're in this genre. Like I said earlier, 10 minutes into this feels like a movie. We have a really interesting mystery here and a really intriguing kind of setup with a character with the protagonist who straight away I find appealing and interesting and relatable.
No, absolutely. No, when I first watched this, I was like, "Oh man, this is just The Ring," because so much of it is just this woman, like she finds out about this kind of mystery thing, and then she's investigating it through most of the movie.
Yeah, and that's not a connection I would have thought of because it's been a while since I've seen The Ring, and I loved that movie when it came out. And that was on
Mhm.
my list of things people could pick was
Yeah.
The Ring, and it didn't get selected. I'm glad this did because I maybe would have never seen it otherwise.
Hmm. Absolutely.
There was some controversy, and this probably won't surprise anybody when this movie came out, and especially like as it was being developed, uh, about like whether it's somehow like wrong or racist or something to like make a black guy into a serial killer in a horror film, and that it's somehow like I don't know if I don't know if the worry was that it was celebrating um the like the very issues that it's talking about in this movie or what, but like I found that really weird and kind of specious that people had that kind of issue with it because it feels like a kind of traditional uh in the horror space, like a revenge film. It's like, it's not exploiting racism. It's saying, like the fact that this happens with these folks in a ghetto is awful. And obviously, the Candyman going around and murdering people isn't okay. But like, he's not a person anymore. He's been, transformed into this monster, and like, the, our society created him. And his backstory is really interesting, right? Because he's a guy who was born uh, from a slave, and he is an artist. And because these kinds of villains always have to be like artistic in some way, and he's an artist, and he basically is able to like live in the white man's world or whatever in the late 1800s, and then he falls in love with a white woman, and then her father like sends a lynch mob after him, and I don't think there's anything about that is like exploitative about all of that. It's like this is really wrong and messed up, and I feel like it's kind of thoughtful about those issues.
Yeah.
And again turns into
Absolutely.
a catharsis and is having fun with that villain, but like we do that with a lot of slasher villains who have been wronged in some way and come back, and part of the fun is supposed to be it's it's bad that these people do those sorts of things, and there's a dark part of all of us that wants to see them pay for it. Why can't you do that with someone wronged by bigotry? And that was the director's argument. That was Tony Todd's argument. That was the NCAAP's argument. I read about this. There was worry from the studio that like the black community at large was going to have a huge problem with this movie. So Rose had to go sit down with the NCAAP, and they read the script and said, "Why are we having this meeting?
That's really
Isn't
interesting.
isn't that isn't that interesting? Isn't that great?" They said they called it just good fun. I think the movie is more disturbing than that. But they said, why can't a black man be Freddy Krueger? That's preposterous. And they said it's a problem. It's messed up if you're saying he can't.
Hmm.
Obviously,
No,
there's a way
it's
to do that in a crass and bad way, but this isn't
that
doing
uh,
that.
that's trying to be politically correct, where you reverse in on yourself, and it becomes racist through trying to not be racist.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I don't want to get too much into the politics of all of that, of course, but I wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way because there is obviously a major racial component to this movie, and
Oh,
I
of
th-
course.
and I think it's the thing that grounds it and makes it feel as real as it does.
Well, I thought you were going to say because we have a white lead, but I also think that's important to the story they're telling.
No, it absolutely is. Yeah, because she ultimately, in a to a certain degree, will feel uh, something like the Candyman did, and I also like that it's not the exact same kind of backstory. It's very different, and it's not even like there's some sexism in it, like some of it's like he had to deal with bigotry with racism, she has to deal with bigotry with sexism to a degree, but really just with her husband it's kind of more just uh like society at large doesn't believe her, and so she for a very different reason becomes like the other, like he would have been.
Hmm. No, and she becomes a wraith herself. Absolutely. No, and it doesn't spoon feed things either, too. Like it just is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I respect it a lot for that.
Mhm.
I think it's a really gutsy movie.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because how much easier would it have been to make this movie not about anything at all?
Hmm.
You know,
Oh, super easy.
like you base it on this short story that this is what you would expect like a Hollywood movie to do, especially at this time with slasher stuff. You go, well, he's black in the short story, so we'll cast a black man, but we're kind of too afraid to deal with the issues that get him there, so we're not going to talk at all about what's really going on, in the projects and everything. We'll just have him show up and kill people, and maybe this will be the setting, but only because, well, he's black, it's urban. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I really appreciate that this movie is smarter than that, and like you said, that she has this kind of rude awakening. But Helen is so endearing because of how proactive she is with all of this. Like it's not, it becomes for her as much about trying to like help these people as it does debunking a myth.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like I really like her relationship with the kid that she meets here, um, and just their kind of back and forth.
FG says Candyman isn't black in the short story. He has no backstory at all. Okay, I assumed he was because I read that the short story is about racial issues just like this is.
Well, it might just be that like it's about racial issues, but Candyman is kind of not. Or I guess they say he's white, so
Oh,
maybe it.
interesting. Okay.
Maybe, I
This
mean,
is why we do these things live.
yeah. That's I just put this together. I don't know why I didn't think about it when you said it, but that's really funny that Candyman doesn't have a name in that story, because that's the same with Hellraiser, where um, Pinhead gets that name from the movie. Not even in the movie, but just like people around it being like, "Oh, well, he's Pinhead. He's the guy with the pins in his head." In the movie, he's just credited as like the lead Cenobite. So apparently there's just a thing with Clive Barker and not naming these characters.
Yeah, and that gets weird at the end, right?
Hmm.
Like when you get to the end, obviously getting way ahead of ourselves, but her her former husband says her real name 5 times and she shows up. Like at some point, is she or the world going to pick like a cool, scary killer name for her, or is she just going to be, ooh, Helen?
Yeah, what if you're just like you have a wife that's named Helen and you're in the bathroom and you're calling out to her and she's not answering?
Helen, Helen, and then like the Wraith Helen shows up and she's like, I don't even know if I want to murder you right now. Like, I hope your wife's okay.
Oh, what was an accident? Oh, okay.
That's all right.
You
Yeah,
have
like
no
is she
idea how
always
often this happens.
obliged? Because it seems like I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Said you have no idea how often this happens. It's okay, I'll leave.
She's like, God, just imagine if this were to happen to someone named Alexa.
Yeah, because it's not like anybody is just named Candyman, so it's not gonna happen with him.
Yeah. Well, and for a minute, I felt like they were talking about it like his name was somehow always Candyman, and there's oh no, I guess he had a real name, but again,
Mhm.
in the short story, apparently he didn't.
Which must mean that the name thing must be from this movie then.
FG says in the short story he's still called Candyman, but he has no backstory. Like we said, he's just some creature that came into being because people believe in him.
Oh, okay.
Do you think it works to do both like this does? where he was a person, but the thing that's keeping like the spirit, like the ghost alive, is that people think he's real.
Yeah, I think that works. Um, where you have like, because it's just that he's a person originally, and then he becomes this sort of creature. And I think, like you said, the backstory is good enough that it kind of wins you over, even if you're unsure about that as an idea.
Yeah, and obviously the whole thing's a conceit in the first place. It's smart
Yeah.
in not spending too much time trying to work out the mythology for that, but it's consistent with what it does give us. The only thing I don't fully understand with Candyman is he seems to operate more or less like, we keep calling him a wraith, like a ghost, like some kind of a reaper, right?
Hmm.
And he'll appear if you say his name too many times. I love this shot a lot. That
It's
is
so good.
that is foreshadowing, and it's spectacular, and it's also just really creepy. Like, just crawling through somebody's mouth like that, and she doesn't know that's what she's doing. She turns around like, "Holy crap! It's a man's face!" It's actually foreshadowing several things, isn't it? Because we don't know his backstory yet. So she's just gone through his mouth like the bees will. Like,
Mhm.
that's a thing. And then of course the bees will come through his mouth and attack her, and I don't know, there's something kind of provocative about her like being in him like that, because he's going to be after her later and like try to give her immortality and kind of merge with her, sort of. I've only seen this once, so like there's some analysis pouring out of me right now, but I've not thought any of this through.
Well, then there's candy right there, and you can throw candy through his mouth.
Right.
He's the Candyman.
Yeah, ever since I watched this yesterday, I've had the Candyman song stuck in my head, even though this movie doesn't have anything to do with that. And I just keep imagining the opening of this movie with the song from Willy Wonka, like the Candyman can.
Well, when they announced they were doing a 2021 movie, I was like, are they gonna do that song in slow-mo for the trailer? But then they picked the Beyonce "Say My Name" song,
Oh.
and it was really embarrassing.
Matthew Bay says class and race are linked to some degree. Not to say there aren't poor white people, but you get my point. Yeah, well, when I was talking about what little I read earlier about the short story, I thought maybe I misread this, but or maybe the article I was reading was wrong about it. But I thought the short story was more about segregation and stuff. And if that's the case, it would be still a racial issue and not just a class issue. And so it seemed to be a reasonable assumption that Candyman was also black in that story if it was about segregation, but I guess he's not, and maybe that's not what it's about. I'll have to read it.
Hmm.
Oh, Robert Wilde says they do play the Candyman song in the movie. I missed that. If that actually shows up in here,
Oh, you know what? I
Does
did
it?
hear about that. I did hear that they actually played it in that movie.
oh,
I
not
think
this,
it over the
not this
credit.
movie, in the new one.
In the new one.
Oh,
Oh.
well, it's just so on the nose. Like,
Yep. No, I think it plays over the credits. I don't know why the second you said it, I'm like, oh, it just clicked. Like, that's right. I did hear about that.
okay, here's my question about how Candyman works, though. You say his name 5 times in a mirror. I thought you had to turn the light off, but I guess that's not part of it. I guess you just have to be in a mirror. And he shows up. Where is he when he's not uh, with whoever just said his name a bunch of times? Because he seems to be able to exist as a physical manifestation, like in this ghetto.
Yeah, well, he's got like a layer.
So does he just live there? He's always there. Nobody bothers him because people are afraid to go there. Is that what it is? Like,
Yeah, maybe. And then I know he's spiritual, so he can teleport away, I guess.
can he teleport if he wants to? Well, and I guess he can make it so that people can't see him because he doesn't show up on cameras.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I guess
then is he like actually there, or is it just like a spirit thing.
Well, here's why I think he must be. First of all, he can, and again, like, it's a conceit. The movie's not too concerned with all of this, but I think it's interesting to talk about it and try to figure it out.
Hmm.
He's able to touch anything he wants to. It's not the stupid ghost dad thing where like he has to concentrate real hard. Like sometimes he can. Uh, oh god, that movie.
I'm glad we didn't get Cosby as Candyman.
No, don't say that. But so like he's able to at least manifest corporally enough where he can do that. The thing I found really striking and surprising is that he takes a nap in one scene.
I wondered that too. Yeah,
He's with the baby and he's taking care, like he's literally taking care of the baby. It's literally like the baby's sucking on his finger, and I imagine maybe he's got uh, like honey or something. Like maybe that's why he's doing that, or maybe he's just like perpetually like smells or tastes like honey because of what happened to him.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be that he's got like honey on his finger.
But yeah, why does he have to sleep?
Hmm. I guess it's probably like a Freddy Krueger thing where it doesn't actually make sense.
Maybe so. Because I was surprised that with that, he seems to have maybe vulnerabilities like that. Like, could you sneak up on him and kill him? Like, what if you stabbed him? What would happen to him? But then he
Well,
can
and
also.
she does. She stabs him right in the throat, and then he just gets up and
Oh, that's
grabs
true.
her.
That's true. I did see this movie one time.
No, of
But
course.
but when he comes through the mirror in the coolest shot in the movie, doesn't he have a giant hand?
No, it's just him. But Tony Todd's giant.
Is it a
So
forced perspective thing where it just looks larger than it is?
yeah, I don't think it's actually bigger.
You're right though. Tony Todd.
Tony Todd.
Pardon me. Tony Todd is a big guy, and I know that firsthand because I met him at a con once and talked to him
That's
for a good long time. And yeah, for some reason, it was a small con, and he didn't have a line at that point, and I got to spend a good 20, 30 minutes with him, and he
That's
was
awesome.
really nice, and he was super down to earth, and we talked about lots of movies and TV shows and things, and we really kind of hit it off. And I got his signature. This is part of the reason I like Tony Todd so much, is he was just really cool to talk to. But I loved him before that, and I got him to sign my Klingon batlet that I've had signed by 7 or 8 different Klingon actors, and because he played Worf's brother Kurn, recurring character in both TNG and DS9, and he he's very tall. He's very big. And we got our picture taken together, and he was worried that I was going to stab him with my batleth, which was really funny because I held it wrong and I almost jabbed it into his leg. It was really funny.
He was like, "Don't stab me, please."
And like you'd think, Tony Todd, you think he's really intimidating. He's very much one of those kind of teddy bear guys, right? Like,
Oh yeah, but he has that voice, right? Where like
yep.
you hear it and you're like, "Whoa, this guy's menacing."
But yeah, that's always been my favorite interaction. I think hands down my favorite interaction with a celebrity. And I don't go to a lot of cons anymore, but I used to.
Mhm. No, that's awesome.
Robert Wild, did Cap just confess to attempting to kill Tony Todd? No, I confessed to almost accidentally
Killing Tony
killing
Todd.
Tony Todd, yeah, or at least giving him a leg wound.
You almost cut his hand off, and you hadn't even seen the movie.
So we haven't talked about this at all yet, but I was really taken with Virginia Madsen's performance in this as Helen, and I think the movie works because of her. Like Tony Todd is wonderful, but
Well, he's got like a very little screen time. Like it's not like he's around a lot.
it's very memorable and it's very menacing.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you don't care about her, it doesn't work.
No, no. I mean, he's got like the perfect amount of screen time, right? where he's there enough that he's really intimidating, but he's not there where it becomes overblown.
Yeah.
I mean, when you break down a lot of these movies, you realize how little a lot of the villains have screen time. Like I think Michael Myers has like 8 minutes of screen time in the original Halloween. Like it's the name of the game is feeling like you're bigger than you actually are.
Yeah. And then, as long as they get any screen time at all, you can merchandise them up the wazoo.
Yup, the George Lucas way.
But that's why I thought that this was a smarter and a more, for me, like digestible or palatable horror movie, because I actually like and care about the protagonist. It feels like her movie, and she doesn't feel like a generic person that's just being chased the whole time. And once her life becomes in danger, like it's not just the bad guys coming at her, through a bunch of hallways, but B, the situation is, with the framing, the literal framing device, is kind of unique.
Mhm. No, Cap had like a spiritual awakening with this actress yesterday.
I did, yeah.
It was really funny talking to him last night, where it's like, oh man, like this woman's in like a ton of stuff that I've seen and didn't realize.
Didn't realize it was the same actress with like all these different things. It's crazy. She's in a Voyager episode I like a lot, that I watched again this afternoon, and it's called Unforgettable, and it's like nothing like this episode, but you can see how she was cast, or like this movie, but you can see how she was cast kind of because of her performance in here. Um,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't even catch that they establish the
That big
pile.
pile? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I won't talk too much about Star Trek, but she plays this character in that episode who's of a race that you forget like hours after you meet them, and she falls in love with Chakotay, and then he forgets about her, and so she like leaves her people and kind of defects and comes back to him and tries to build a relationship with a person that does not know he fell in love with her. It's an interesting premise, and she's really great in it, but apparently they the and I don't know who wrote that episode, but the producers of Voyager must have loved this movie, because her name in this is Helen, and they gave her the alien name of Kellen in that episode. I never really paid attention to what that character's name was, but watching it again today, I was like, oh, I see what you did there. You guys really like this movie. No way
And then
around it.
Tony Todd walks in and his name is Andy, man.
But yeah, I'd recommend that episode. But yeah, she shows up in several things, and apparently she's done a lot of voiceover for like DC animated shows, and I didn't realize that.
No, she's just a very steadily working uh, what's the word?
Character actor.
Character actor, thank you.
Well,
No, she was in a movie that came out today and it's got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, good.
So. You win some, you lose some.
She's in number 23. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I'm sure that's probably partly where I recognize her, because I spent this whole movie racking my brain and I could not figure out where I knew her from. And then we started looking her up, and it was actually Austin that found that Voyager episode. I was like, oh my god, that's who that is? So I went back and watched that, but she's also in a show that I never finished, and I guess she's only in the first couple of seasons, but she's in, or maybe just the first, but she's in that Kiefer Sutherland political show, Designated Survivor. And as soon as I read her character name, I was like, oh, that's who that is? Like, she's in all kinds of stuff that I know.
Yeah, that's more recent, too.
Yeah, that's 2016 that show started. And it got,
I didn't even realize it was that long
3
ago.
or 4 seasons total. It was on network for a couple seasons, and then Netflix gave it one more season.
Oh, okay.
This
for some reason I
is
thought it was later.
gross.
Yeah.
And get just the realism of this. There's a lot of horror movies that don't go this far, right? Where like you'll walk into a room that you shouldn't be able to deal with the smell. And we're paying attention to those kind of details with this.
Yeah. No, and there's a lot of things in this movie that are just kind of gross, but it looks but like in a good way, right? Like it has a very good look to it, and I love all the writing on the walls. Like that must have put, uh, like they must have put a ton of time into doing that. If it wasn't just already there on, if they were filming on location, I don't know.
There's so much grit to it. So all
Mhm.
this stuff would have been
Exactly.
shot on soundstage, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. So I know
The,
you said that they were that he looked at Chicago specifically. It was
they
like,
they went to and I'm assuming all of the stuff outside right now is there, but they went and shot at this actual ghetto for 3 days. Is all they got, and
okay.
everything else they built on soundstage. There might be some backlot stuff. I'm actually not sure.
Hmm. No, for sure. That's awesome though.
Oh look, it's low rent Candyman. Are we watching the new one?
Yeah, we're watching the new
Oh, I
movie.
remember this part
It's Black
now.
Manta. He's having the most embarrassing father death scene.
um, but no, I'll go this far with Virginia Madsen, and some people might think that I'm like kind of too impressed or too enamored with her, but like looking at her specific skills, like her ability, deadpan's not the right word, Austin, but she's like, um, I don't know, she's real serious. She's not over the top. She doesn't have like a broad sense of humor. Uh, I feel like there are a couple of roles that she very well might have been just as good for as the actresses that got them. I feel like she could have played Seven of Nine in Voyager, and I wonder if she didn't audition, and if that's not, I haven't looked this up yet. I wonder if she didn't audition, and if that's not why she got that guest spot on that show, because that season 5, which is only a year after uh, Jerry Ryan is cast as Seven of Nine in that show, and you hear that story all the time, right? Where like somebody will get a role because they auditioned for something and they liked her, but they didn't end up going with that particular actor. I
No,
also
that
think she
happens all
could
the
have
time.
played Scully in X Files. I think she would have tore that up. And I love Anderson. I think she would have been just as good.
No, you said that to me, and for both of those women, and those aren't two women that I think of as being similar, Jerry Ryan and Gillian Anderson, but she like looks and like has like a feel that is both of them, even though
Yeah.
they're not two people that I think of as being similar.
No, but isn't that weird? Like she fits both of them.
Yeah.
She has more of the height and the build of Jerry Ryan. I think it's a little bit hard to tell because she doesn't have like a male counterpart that she's running around with the whole movie. So I actually can't tell how tall she is.
Mhm. Well, she's shorter than Tony Todd, so she's
Yes,
not giant.
but everyone but Shaq is shorter than Tony Todd, and you don't want Shaq to play Candyman.
All I know is that she is both shorter than Tony Todd and taller than this child. So
Oh right, yes, this is the closest to a male counterpart she has to run around with in this movie.
no, this kid actor is really
He's
good.
really good. But part of the reason I thought of Scully is because she is the skeptic in this. She's doing precisely what Scully would be doing in this situation. She's going and investigating and trying to debunk it for different reasons, obviously. But you can see why she gets cast as like cops and agents and stuff
Mhm.
in things, even though she is a grad student in this. Like she does get those kinds of roles. So anyway, I don't know. It's just retroactively, I'm realizing she should have been another favorite character actor of mine. Probably like she feels like suddenly the female counterpart for me to a Tony Todd or a Jeffrey Combs, and I didn't even know about it. It's crazy, but I
Well, to
really
add on
like
to your
her.
sorry, yeah, no, I agree. She's really good. And to add on to your cop thing, like she just has a commanding presence. Like even though like she can obviously be warm and like not hostile like she is in this exact scene we're talking about, but she also just has like a commanding presence when she's when she walks into a room. So that helps. And this guy is just always a jerk face,
Yes,
apparently.
in everything he's in. Yeah, and he doesn't make any sense to me because Again, maybe I'm too enamored with this actress, but like he's nuts for cheating on that woman. You know,
I mean, it happens.
like yeah, but he's crazy. It's all about, I guess, sleeping with the youngest woman you could possibly find, right? Because like she's super intelligent and she's very attractive and like he's nuts.
One of my favorite, just like goofy moments in this that's like really amusing and playing that up is near the end when it shows that girl and she's cooking for him and she like doesn't know how to make a salad, but like they also sexualize her where she's not wearing a bra, so it's like they're like, look how like attractive this woman is, but look how stupid she is. She's like cutting meat and she's going like it's really amusing.
It's nice when a movie makes a big deal out of how intelligent any character is. I don't just mean like the, you know, female genius that's played by a bimbo, but like we get this with men, with women and men in lots of movies. We're like, look how smart this person is, and you don't see anything behind their eyes, and you don't buy it, and they're just there because they're a pretty person. And that's one of the reasons that I thought of her with Seven of Nine. She reminds me a lot of Jerry Ryan in that. Like I think she is a very attractive woman, and she's very smart, and you're buying her in this whole in this role, and it can't be an easy role to cast.
No, absolutely. No, that's another thing that I would compare it to The Ring for, which is they both cast an actress that's like that as their lead.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to check my
That's
information with this. She was not the first actress picked. There was another actress that I've never heard of named Alexandra Pig, and she found out she was pregnant, so she had to step aside. And then this was, I guess, their second choice. But if she hadn't been able to do it, they were going to go after Sandra Bullock for the role.
Oh, thank God.
That could have been okay, but
I know it could have been okay, but that's a step down. It could have been okay.
I'm glad it was less of a known actress.
Yeah.
And that she got her career really going with this movie, I think. Like, she had been in some things before this, but she probably gets a lot more steady work because she's in this.
No, she was in a TV movie with Tommy Lee Jones called Gotham before this.
Yeah, I saw that.
Out.
I think 1988.
It's 1988, yeah.
The original choice for Candyman was Eddie Murphy. And the only reason they didn't cast him was because they couldn't afford him.
That's so weird.
So there's another art over adversity kind of thing where it's like sometimes the right thing happens just because you can't afford what you think you want. You know, like when you have all the resources, sometimes things don't turn out as well. Limitations can be good.
Imagine the world where it's Sandra Bullock and Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy walks in and he's like, "Hey, Helen, I'm making waffles."
I don't feel like I've seen enough Eddie Murphy outside of a couple of comedies to know what his range is. Like, could he play a part like that? Have you seen him do anything really serious
like
or
horror?
really scary?
I don't know. You should watch Dolomite Is My Name, though. A movie he did in 2019. That movie's awesome. And it's got Wesley Snipes.
So there's a really good writing 101 thing that we just did right before the scene, which is things aren't looking great, and then suddenly things are looking very up, and she's in a very wonderful mood, and things are going to work out. And then the other shoe drops, and all hell breaks loose. She's got to be at her happiest possible moment before this happens.
I think this is like the most horrific thing to me is this woman, like, it's like obviously very over the top, but it's like haunting and like how real it is.
No, it's not too over the top. I buy it. I totally buy it.
I just mean like it's over the top in that it's like, you know, she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, but it's like, no, exactly. It's haunting in how just real it is in the moment.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
And then this is the point where the movie starts hurting my feelings, and I have a hard time dealing with it. Like when she gets, especially because, again, I like this character, and earlier she was hurt by the fake Candyman guy, and everybody's on her side. She goes to the police department. The very same people. This scene's hard to watch.
It is, and it's like nudity that's not gratuitous,
and
like,
they
it's
haven't shown her
uncomfortable.
at nude at all before this.
Hmm.
So like they're not they're not doing that for eye candy at all.
No, it's
Even later when
gross.
she's in the bathtub, it still isn't like fun or anything. Like
No, it's like, look how gross this is. Like, oh, you don't want to look at this.
yeah, it's disturbing.
uncomfortable.
It's rough.
Yeah.
And again, I
See,
think
and I'm more just sad that that dog got its head cut off.
and that's what I'm saying. I think that's why it bothered me, is because it feels real. I'm buying it, and I didn't. And the thing is, I can't be mentally prepared going into a movie like this because I'm assuming bloody cartoon.
Yeah.
Like with any movie people have told me is a slasher, I'm walking in expecting it. Okay, I've got to get myself on a different plane of existence. This is going to be heightened and goofy, and some of those movies are fun and good, and I'm not disparaging that. But I was not
You're expecting
mentally...
Friday the 13th. You're
Yeah.
expecting Jason X.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I was not mentally prepared for... and I had this a little bit with The Fly, but that's even more heightened than this is.
Yeah.
I wasn't mentally prepared for, oh, this woman is going to be arrested for ultimately multiple crimes she didn't commit. No one's going to believe her. She has to go through, all the awful hurdles in getting arrested and all of that. And, like, I don't know, not to get too personal, but, like, I have this irrational fear of, like, of prison, of like being arrested. Like I have dreams about it. It bothers me. And I had a hard time with this. It was rough. And there was a way this movie could have been made where even with that idea that hits me in a personal place, I wouldn't have had feelings about it. And that's a testament to the movie. Like I really believed it, and I wanted her to be okay. And then I went, oh, this is going to go real tragic with her by the end, right? Like, she does not make it out of this movie alive.
You're like, oh.
And then it turns it around in a really twisted way where, like, it's not a happy ending, but, like, somehow I'm excited that she's able to sort of get her comeuppance even as a wraith. Like...
Yeah, well, then I think that funeral scene is kind of triumphant in a way.
Yeah. Triumphant in what way? Oh, just because the whole ghetto comes out for her?
Yeah, because it's like nobody showed up to her funeral, and then like everybody rocks up, and then they throw the hook in her grave.
No, you're right though. It's nice that she's remembered well. Ultimately. But then that's interesting because she'll also be an urban legend where she's a killer, and I wonder how many people will make the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And what will she represent? I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Well, no, I mean, it would be like if John Blake's superhero name was Robin. So if you don't make the connection.
Okay, that's an interesting transition, and I don't know what to do with it. That we switched from the center of a toilet to Tony Todd's face making his mouth in the shape of what's almost a toilet. I don't know what to do with that image. Like, I don't know what it is. What is that? We're doing something with it.
They're saying that Tony Todd is a toilet. It's symbolic of that.
No, that's not what it is. But again, adding to the realism, like, the paparazzi is there, she can't hardly leave the building, like, these are not things that I take for granted in this genre.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely got, like, a gross realism to it. You're like, a little...
like I'm not digging on this, and I don't with much of anything, but I'm not digging on this movie with just like premise alone or the fun performance of the slasher killer. Like it really begins and ends with performances and realism and the fact that it's actually kind of about something, but not preachy about it, not like screaming at me about how I'm supposed to think about things either.
Mhm.
Like you said, it just presents those things, but it also is kind of a catharsis. It's like, look what we as a society did to a group of people, uh, and then the universe creates a supernatural killer based on that. Like, yeah, we probably deserve that as a society. Like,
He's the killer that we deserve, is what you're saying?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That tracks. No, that's what part of what makes me want to read that short story is I have the same thing with Hellraiser, where it could be a really dumb movie if handled by somebody else, but it's cool and it's actually about something.
Jar Jar Ed $5 super chat. Captain Logan likes this character. Let's beat their will to live out of them. Evil laughs.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
That's exactly what happens. No, it really. Like I said, I bet folks will make fun of me for this. That I got too enamored with this character in, ultimately this what people I guess think is a fun, silly slasher film, but that's not how I saw it. This movie bothered me.
I think there was another super chat before it too.
Oh, thank you.
A little bit ago. Yeah, no worries. I wasn't sure if you were just waiting on it. So
no, I was
thought of mentioning
concentrating.
it, but no, it's fine.
And I missed it. Was it a million years ago? Because I don't see it.
No, I think it was just like a little bit above it.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
No worries.
Another Jar Jar Ed super chat. Oh, he's talking about Enterprise, guys. So my apologies for more Star Trek stuff if nobody cares. But he says, to Paul, I'm intelligent. Also, to Paul, even though I have experienced time travel, there is no such thing. Yeah, that's great. He probably mentioned that when I was talking about like bimbos or like not very intelligent seeming actors playing like apparently brilliant or people or geniuses or like really smart people. Yeah, that is that to Paul thing. I didn't buy her playing any Vulcan at all for any amount of time, and I had to deal with it for 4 seasons. Jolene Blaylock was a porn star, and I feel like she's done everything she can to like wipe that out of her record so nobody knows about it. But she was. That was one of the big things she did before that, and it kind of watched like there's a porn star playing your lead Vulcan in your show.
Hey, now Rocky was played by a former porn star, so
she's got her moments, but she's not a great actress, and it's not her fault.
I mean, at least there's an excuse there, like. Denise Richards and Jessica Alba weren't even porn stars.
Yeah. Denise Crosby was, I think. And she's maybe a better actress than
she
Julie
was.
Blaylock.
You know how I know she was?
How's that?
Because I started watching TNG and I was like, oh, this is that actress from, and then you cut me off and went, oh, from porn? And I was like, no, I was going to say from Pet Sematary.
I'm not saying that because I've seen it. I'm saying that because I just know a lot about these actors.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I recognize this woman. You're like, oh, from porn? No, from Pet Sematary. Cat. Come on.
It's just come up in a lot of biographical stuff.
Oh, okay.
Hey, let's talk for a second about Hypnosis.
Yeah, let's get away from porn.
Because that's interesting. I have to say, I had to read a little bit about this movie before I fully understood what was going on with that. The idea is supposed to be that Candyman like literally hypnotizes her. Mm-hmm. I thought they were just doing this sort of trippy thing where she was kind of like spacing out because there's the supernatural thing she didn't believe in, but apparently it's like actual hypnosis. And the reason that Rose went with that, he said, I thought this was really interesting, Austin, is because he said there's too much screaming in horror movies.
Oh,
So he
interesting.
has her hypnotized so that every time Candyman shows up, she's not just going, ah! And isn't she so much more sympathetic because that's her reaction?
Oh, interesting. Oh, we're coming to the greatest
Here it comes.
bathroom mirror jump scare of all time.
And makes her a lot less typical.
That is true. I didn't even really think about that. As like, oh yeah, she doesn't just run around screaming.
I didn't either. No, I mean, even Vicky Vale spends most of her time screaming, and that's not even a horror movie.
Yes.
There it is. See,
No, Vicky
that
Vale just
shot, it looks
photographs murder and
enormous.
just screams at anything.
Are you sure it's not supposed to be huge?
No, I feel like that's just the size of his arm. I could be wrong,
Okay, he
but I feel
must
like
be
that just is his arm.
he must be able to teleport even if people aren't saying his name because he is bouncing all around this house
No, he's definitely mystical of some variety.
or around this condo. All of that was also really believable and apparently is true too. The whole thing about like the well, I don't know if it's true that they had condos that were made with the exact same floor plan as some of the buildings that are in the projects there.
Mhm.
But they do. Part of the reason they set it there is because there are like really expensive condos, or there were then anyway. A lot of that stuff's been torn down and changed now. But there were condos like right across from there where you'd be able to look across and see the poorer housing.
No, I really like that line that they have when she's telling her friend about it, and the friend's like, "Oh, you have like those kind of project buildings here, and they're kind of blocked off from the rest of the city by the trains, but this spot doesn't have anything that would wall it off from the rest of society." I thought that was just like an interesting uh, conversation that they were willing to go that far.
This whole thing is so tense.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Where she's just standing
Somebody
at the
earlier
door.
said this is also the friend from Silence of the Lambs, and I don't remember it being this actress, but it's been a while since I've seen that.
I haven't seen that in a long time either. Is it really?
Apparently she's just
Crazy.
the friend.
Are we gonna find out that she is also this great character actress that's been in
She
everything?
probably played somebody's friend on Star Trek.
She's typecast as main character's friend.
Yeah, she was Worf's friend.
She probably also played a lot of friends in sitcoms.
Mhm. Yeah, probably. She was the guest star where it's like, oh, my friend came to town.
Yeah, she's from Hawaii. She's never here.
We've been friends for so long.
Jar Jar add $5 super chat on Fantastic Four. Tim Story told Jessica Alba to stop emoting and acting and to look more pretty. I mean, I'm sure that was that made the performance worse, but she still wasn't cast right for that.
Yeah, she's still not the right choice.
And I
But
hate that for her. But also
Tim
understand,
Story is not a
I've
good
liked Jessica
director.
Alba in things, but I wouldn't cast her as a scientist.
Hmm. I agree.
I think she's really good in Sin City. And that's not me saying all she could play is a stripper, but she's a stripper who's also like in college and going places. And I bought that. Like I bought her as intelligent. I didn't buy her as a scientist.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh my god. See, I think that's part of why I don't think of this as a slasher movie is that we're not seeing the kills.
That's a
Like,
good point.
it's so people are dying, but it's not like we're actually living them in the moment.
No, it feels like a
Obviously, we'll get one
procedural.
later, but
It feels like a procedural movie with a supernatural component.
hmm,
But then,
absolutely.
but then the twist is the investigator you've been following. Again, even though she's not a cop, the person you've been following doing the investigating ultimately gets framed for the kills, and then it kind of turns into a different movie in a way that I think works. But where it's no longer about her trying to figure out this thing. Now she's having to pay for knowing it. Where like she's gotten in over her head. she was maybe naive.
Ooh. See, this is how you get hypnotized, is you listen to Tony Todd ADR at you.
Uh, yeah, I'd listen to Tony Todd just talking before I go to sleep.
I
That
was
would be
gonna say
soothing.
that. When's he gonna do a Tony Todd ASMR?
I'd listen to that. And Tony Todd reads the Bible.
Well, I think it should just be him talking, and then like the sound of his arm, where it's like
Now,
the
do you
best.
feel like I can't decide where I'm at on this. Is the baby kidnapping plot the one thing in this movie that's maybe a little bit too typical or easy or too, like, kind of Hollywood?
Um, I don't know. I don't have an issue with it.
Okay, I can't decide. It does play maybe a little bit like we need something else at stake.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I
then
mean that's fair.
but then his motivations for doing it, like I'm getting where he's trying to create this like ultimatum for her, and then ultimately he's not going to live up to his side of the bargain.
Well, I also just like it with how he's framing her because it makes her look so much worse.
And at first you can't tell if he's doing it on purpose or if it's just working out that way. Like, is it just really inconvenient? Does she just happen to be holding the weapon every time, or like is he setting it up to look that way? Eventually, it looks like even if he wasn't at the beginning, he's starting to. But I think it could kind of go either way.
Hmm. Well, especially if there's like hypnosis at play.
The other thing that's weird about the hypnosis, sorry, I love this shot a lot.
It's so
When we
good.
cut to him and he's floating, it's I love it. But you see
I
what I mean?
want somebody to take the audio out and put "I believe I can fly" over that shot.
I when Siskel back when this came out reviewed this movie, he complained, like I said earlier, or alluded to earlier, that Tony Todd doesn't have like enough of his own, unique bad guy look for this. I can see that complaint.
Yeah, but I don't know. Tony Todd is so just cool in general that it's like, yeah, it's Candyman. And I think part of it too is that I know a ton of people like my mom that see Tony Todd and go, "Oh, it's Candyman." So like, I think that even though it's just him, and it probably also helps that you know him before this. I think that there are a ton of people that just see Tony Todd and it's like, "Oh, that's
Well,
Candyman."
and since he wasn't in a lot of stuff before this, maybe the thinking with the movie was like less is more, and we'll just let his face, his visage be the iconic thing. Like you say, that's weird to me because I know him from lots of things. And so Tony Todd is an actor to me. He's not Candyman. And here, like, he's really good, but like he's Tony Todd playing this part. It's not Candyman. Oh, it's this guy named Tony Todd, and retroactively, you realize that. But what's weird about it to me, and the reason that I think that there maybe is a little bit of validity to that complaint, I don't think it kills the movie. Like Siskel talked about it, like it kind of did, where it's like, it's kind of silly. He's just got this coat and a hook, and they didn't do anything with his face. But where there's a little bit of validity to it is, I think by the end she has a way more iconic look, or what should be. Like, she gets her hair all burned off, and then when she comes back as the Wraith, she still has that. That's really memorable. We couldn't have done anything with his face. We couldn't have done some, like a big cut in it or just something like.
Yeah. No, I could see something like that. Some sort of scar.
It might be silly if it had bee stings. Like he comes back, he's got like all these bee stings.
All these little red dots.
Yeah.
Well, then you just have to keep paying him more money.
Well, see, but those would have to be like makeup bee stings,
Oh.
and then he'd have the real ones, probably in a lot of places that are not his face, right?
That's
They're
true. All the
flying
real
around
ones are like
everywhere.
in his mouth.
And he's like, "What you're looking at right now is $27,000."
You ought to know. You bought it.
Senior Stick says Kappa's scars are on his back. Yeah, that's true. I guess the idea is supposed to be he looks like he did before he died, but then if he takes the coat off, oh no!
Yeah.
I guess that's supposed to be the idea. But like,
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't know.
it? While I'm
This
watching this
bothered me.
movie, sorry, it feels like it sucks to be her more than anybody else in anything I've ever seen, just while I'm watching it. Where it's like, God, every time she's with anybody, freaking Candyman shows up and kills them.
No, she's just trying to talk to George Costanza and he dies. Like,
And then
how are we gonna make Seinfeld now?
And then Candyman cuts off her restraint, so she's sitting there like, what do I do now? Like,
I don't even have a weapon this time, Candyman. What did I kill him with?
she has to weirdly be thinking, I sure wish you'd kept me in these restraints so that the guards could rush in and go, well, wait, how does this work? Because then she might have a chance at getting exonerated for the other two murders, where it's like, yeah, see, this keeps happening. Like, I couldn't possibly have killed this guy. Candyman's like, nope, you're free now. Crap. It is kind of weird that she screams murderer.
I mean, he did just kill her friend.
Well, no, sure, but like she's seen enough supernatural stuff now to know that the Candyman is real.
Yeah.
So it just seems like kind of a generic thing to say, you know what I mean? Where you're like, how dare you? You're a murderer. It's like, yeah, he's Candyman. That's what he does. He's a murderer. You know, you think she'd yell Candyman or like, oh, he's real. You know, like.
No, she should yell like hypocrite, because that's the worst part about Candyman, really, is the hypocrisy.
Is that the worst part?
Yeah.
What are we even talking about?
Oh, have you never seen that Norm
No,
Macdonald bit?
I know.
Oh.
But in this context, what are we even talking about? How's he a hypocrite?
Well, we were saying earlier he was almost Cosby, so there we go. That's how it connects.
No, we were not saying that. So the other thing that's really interesting about the hypnosis is that she is allegedly not playing hypnotized. They brought in a hypnotist to hypnotize her before those takes.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So like 10 minutes before the scene, they would bring in a guy and hypnotize her.
Dryad, you better stop. No!
And then they'd have, a word that she was conditioned to snap out of it with. And I'm like, I like this actress a lot, but she's going through quite a bit just to get to be in this movie, I think. Like,
yeah. That's pretty rough.
but so is Tony Todd, too. Like, at least the guy playing the serial killer also has to go through some crap, right? Like, she has to be hypnotized and strapped
She should have
down.
negotiated to be paid for every time she had to be hypnotized.
He's got to get stung by bees. And by the way, she was apparently really allergic to bee stings, so they had to be super careful that she wasn't around the ones that sting. So
Yeah.
when they did the shot with all the bees in his mouth, those are mostly, if not all, like non-stinging ones.
One, I just assumed.
But I guess he also got stung some with that too, so I'm not sure. But
Well, I assumed because it's like in his mouth, and then he leans down, and then it cuts to an angle where it's the back of his head as he goes down towards her. You don't see her in the shot with her in his mouth, so
Yeah.
I just assumed that you cut away and there's nothing there.
that's a killer shot too, where he just
It's
shoots
awesome.
out. Yeah, it's so cool.
It's so cool.
This movie has like a cool factor, right? Like,
Yeah. Especially because he's like, ooh. He like reverse cannonballs out.
Tony Todd had an apparatus in his mouth, so that he wouldn't get stung too much, and he had bees in his mouth for like half an hour. And he said that he was in a trance at the point where the bees all flew out. Like, he wasn't there anymore. And
No,
you
that
can
has to do
see it in his
something.
eyes. Like, it helps the performance.
Yeah. No, that has to do something, especially because if he's doing it for half an hour, that's half an hour of going like that wouldn't be comfortable. That would mess you up.
This is where the organ music starts, and I think I think it's a little much. I think it's a little cliche.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I have to complain about something. This movie's really good.
Yeah, I guess I pick up more on the just the choir to the soundtrack.
Well, it's I guess my problem with it is it's too Phantom of the Opera. Like you already associate that sound with the particular uh,
Well, I think they were looking at
notes
Phantom
they're
of the
playing.
Opera when they were making this too. That was one of the inspirations. I
Yeah,
remember reading something about
I
that.
don't know about that. I know that Tony Todd has a famous quote where he said he was looking for his Phantom of the
Oh,
Opera,
maybe that's what it is
and
that
that's
I'm
why he
thinking of.
wanted this role so bad.
Okay, might be that then.
But I don't know if there was anything with the director like writing it where he had that.
I just remember seeing something about Phantom of the Opera with this, so it was probably that.
Robert Wilde just called me nitpicking Cap. Look, we have an hour and 40 minutes to talk about this movie. And I can bring up anything I want to. Thank you very much.
Cap's just like, why isn't the full walls painted yet?
Okay, Jar Jar Ed, that's a great point, but it's not my fault. I tried. He says it's October 28th and no one watched 28 Days Later. Shame. I tried. I tried to get it on the stream. We let Patreon pick it. We had 4 movies. One of them was 28 Days Later. They could have picked it, and it got votes, but I don't think it was even second place.
I was last place. It was like first at one point, and then it like dropped out pretty quickly. I was like a pretty close tie between Christine, Candyman, and The Ring for a long time.
Robert Wilde says this girl
Not a tie,
can't
but
cook
very
or
close.
paint. That's the other reason that this guy is a crazy person
No, this woman's completely stupid.
because he's got a wife.
But she doesn't wear a bra, so he's like, I'm leaving my wife.
Yeah, that's the deal breaker. Oh, she wears a bra, and my girlfriend doesn't, so I'm going with her. Uh, Now I don't. I was gonna say like Helen seems kind of good at a lot of things, or maybe good at everything, but like she doesn't get everything handed to her, so she doesn't feel like a Mary Sue type. Like
I mean,
she's
the
just
entire
very
movie is her being crapped on.
yeah, she's very capable, and still nothing works out for her, and she's gonna die a horrible death at the end. So maybe you can't lob that at her.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that like I never had that thought the whole time. But when I was describing this movie to somebody yesterday, I started to say, I love this character. She's good at everything. And I'm like, when have I ever said that? When have I ever liked the character? Because she's good at everything.
She's good at everything except living successfully.
That's the power of conflict in a story. You throw enough crap at someone, and suddenly you get excited when they're good at stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, isn't that quaint?
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did her husband cheat on her? I was making this assumption, but I think it's possible it could go either way. Did her husband cheat on her before she was institutionalized?
Yes.
How do we know for sure?
Because we set it up when she goes to visit him at the school.
We set up that they both like each other. There's not enough evidence that they've necessarily been doing anything.
I agree, but I think it's like just like another connective tissue piece where I go, yeah, this has probably been happening for a little bit.
I just think it's possible it could go either way.
Well, and especially because he doesn't. Well, and when she gets arrested, he can't pick her up because he's cheating on her.
Is that what it is? Well, no, we don't know that for sure either.
It's pretty certain. Because he says, "Oh, I was sleeping," but we see the bed and there's nobody
And there's
there.
nobody
It's
there.
3 in the
Okay, so
morning.
he is lying about that. That's a good point. All right, so that must be the implication. I just didn't feel like the movie was giving us enough evidence for sure, and she is institutionalized for a whole month, and that totally could have gone down within that period.
Well, and that's the night that she was arrested, so it's
But you,
like,
but you
yeah.
are right. That is definitely what's happening. I'm not defending the guy. I was just wondering if the movie was making that ambiguous for some reason, or if the movie was accidentally making it ambiguous.
Yeah, no, I think
Narrative
that
analysis, guys. It's what I do. It's not about who I root for when I get to the analysis plays. It's what's the story doing, and does it know everything it's doing? Um,
Cap was like, "Oh, this woman's probably my favorite character of the movie." Oh, wait, this guy's an adulterer, and never mind.
no, one of my favorite things the movie does is make him so pathetic at the end when he realizes what he traded down for. It's awesome.
No, it's really cool because it's not just like, "Haha, I left my wife for a better woman that's younger and prettier," but like he actually has like uh humanity.
They make you feel almost bad for him. I can't say full on bad for him because he's an idiot. Just look at this woman; she's amazing. Like, how do you do that to her? And
Maybe he was
but like you said, they
hypnotized.
make him a person.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that moment
When he
feels really
starts
real.
saying her
Where he
name out loud
breaks down.
because I really did. Maybe I didn't love my wife enough, but now I'm appreciating what I had. Oh no. And then he dies. It's so much better than if he just. Or does he die? I can't remember.
Oh no, he dies because it's like the bimbo girl walks in and then he's dead in the
That's
bathtub.
what it is, yeah. Well, I couldn't remember if it was him or her that's holding the knife at the end, but somebody's gonna get framed for that. Just like with her. And then I'm like, did she do that on purpose?
That girl's not smart enough to kill somebody.
Yeah, but you know what's gonna happen. This set is really impressive.
Hmm. No, it's really cool.
If we're in the place where I think we are, or are we back to
Yeah, no,
the
we're
place
coming
with
into
the
his lair
graffiti
now.
and like his is it his actual lair?
I think so because this is where he sleeps.
Oh, maybe
And I
that's
mean,
why they
and you
did the
gotta
toilet shot
enter
because
from
there's a
the mouth,
toilet there. But you'd think that they would transition from the toilet to that toilet,
or his mouth to that toilet.
right? Okay, so I got to ask you the question:
Yeah.
is the implication that I the Candyman, the real person, fell in love with a woman that looks a lot like her, or that she's supposed to be like an ancestor, or that that's an ancestor of hers or something? Because that would be
So,
really silly, and I hope that's not what it is.
so like the mummy. I don't think so, but I mean, I could be wrong. I've only seen this twice, but I've never really thought about that for this.
What made me not totally sure, and again, I've seen this movie one time. What made me not totally sure and maybe skeptical of it and go, maybe this movie jumped the shark if that's what it is at the end when Candyman keeps saying it was always you. And I don't totally know what we mean by that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just look at that as villain line. It's like,
Robert Wild says it could be interpreted as reincarnation. See, that's my fear. I kind of don't want it to be that. It's a little too easy, right? It's like,
mhm.
so she was. Well, maybe and maybe not. I mean, I guess I was gonna say it's too convenient that she happens to be researching this if she is related to the woman that he fell in love with. But if the idea is reincarnation, then she could have this like latent memory or something that pushes her toward that, but it doesn't watch that way. It watches like she's just a curious college student. But then why does she pick this specific thing, I guess? I do like the piano in the score a lot. This bit is
Yeah,
great.
for sure. That spinning shot was crazy. That was
Yeah.
like one step below Carrie.
I I read a synopsis today that made the assumption that she just kind of looks like her, but maybe maybe that was whoever wrote that thinking it's ambiguous, so I'm not going to put that in there. I
Yeah, it probably is ambiguous. I think there's, I mean, just a connection of there's like this white woman in his past to now. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're connected in like a Star Warsy, everyone has to be related way, but it could be just paralleling the two ideas. I don't know.
Everything about this is so messed up. Tony Todd, was it worth it? Like, this movie is great, but like, was it worth it? Like,
I mean, he got $23,000 just from this scene.
oh, it
So
was 23, not 27. Yeah, 23 bee stings. We should be impressed that it wasn't more than that.
it is pretty crazy that it was only that.
Robert Wild says Candyman 2 does deal with a descendant with a different character, and there was apparently talk about doing a prequel about it, and I'm glad that didn't happen. Where they would make it really clear that that's what it was, and
Mhm.
that I guess they would try to bring that actress back, but that they would like go back and do, the relationship with them.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen.
I can't decide if I'm curious enough to watch the sequels because I'm not trusting that.
I mean, I that can't be worse than the Hellraiser sequels.
See, you keep bringing that up. I've never seen that. I know nothing about that franchise.
You should watch the first one. It's really good.
Well, I should probably trust you. You've had a really good track record with these two, and I'd love there to be a trilogy of these horror movies that make me appreciate this genre a lot more. And obviously, I've seen more horror movies doing Geekvolution, especially in the latter half of my career, and I appreciate the genre more than I ever used to. It's still never been my thing, and a lot of the movies that I've watched have been like objectively, or not objectively, but like I see the merit to this. I like this movie. I don't want to rewatch most of them. Both this and The Fly, I like enough to go back to. Like I would watch these periodically.
Mhm.
I'm having more of like a misery thing with these.
Yeah, and I was surprised you didn't pick that for one of these weeks.
Yeah, I've talked about it on the channel before, and I kind of just wanted to pick stuff I haven't
That's
dealt
true.
with.
That's true. Because I put Misery and Carrie on the list specifically because I knew that you really liked them.
Okay, I don't understand what Senior Sticks is getting at. He says I won't enjoy Hellraiser, so I guess he
And then,
doesn't think
and then he
that.
says Hellraiser is
I was
fake.
about to get to that. I guess he doesn't think that I'll that it will be the triad that I'm hoping it will be. And then he says Hellraiser is thinky.
No, we already know that you like that movie because it's about adultery. So
Right? Yeah, I really like that theme.
no, you wouldn't like that as much as these two, but I think you would at least appreciate that
I tend
movie.
to side with the adulterer. Apparently, that is not true. Uh, but I'm not gonna like it because it's thinky, because it's too cerebral.
Oh,
I take
Rob Wild says
I
he
take offense
thinks
to
he
that.
means kinky. It might be that.
Oh, okay.
That's like a very erotic movie. Like I
That's
said,
not what he
it's
wrote
about
though. He wrote thinky.
yeah, it probably is supposed to be
You
kinky
won't like Hellraiser. That's a thinking person movie, Cab.
because that movie's all, but it's got like a lot of themes about BDSM and stuff.
Okay, so I interpreted uh what's going on with her differently than the synopsis I read. And I want to know if you think I'm a crazy person.
Okay.
I read it as she's already dead. And that he's already made her immortal, and that she rescues the baby already immortal. And I guess it can't be that because then she gets burned up and she keeps that look. But like, what was the deal with the bees then? Because he didn't kill her with the bees.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I've never had that uh, thought, but maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean I must be wrong about it, but it's weird because he also has a line where he says we're both dead
Yeah.
or something to that effect before
Well, that
it.
could just be where he like gives her that ability where when she dies, she'll become immortal.
Because he knows it's about to happen.
Yeah. No, Candyman's just very thinky and or kinky, so he had to do that be a thing.
Well, and what I thought was sad up to the point where the Candyman actually shows up in here is that I and I think it's kind of nuts that she hangs on to the hook. That's a little contrived. Because she's got to have that so that when she goes in there, the kid will be like, oh, it's Candyman. But, like, in a way, even though nobody knows it's her, she's still sort of being framed for for being Candyman. It's like, oh, Candyman's in there. No, it's this woman that hasn't done anything wrong the whole movie, who the news thinks killed 3 people. Oh, interesting. Robert Wilde says we're both dead could refer to his previous lover, especially if the idea is supposed to be reincarnation, or if we're supposed to. I guess I don't mind it ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, ambiguous is the way you would want that to be handled anyway, I would think, with this.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it ambiguous is how would he know?
Yeah.
Like I like the idea that he thinks that she's her, or that she could be her.
Mm-hmm.
And then that lets the movie cop out in kind of a good way, where it's like, I mean, he might be right. Who knows?
I need to see behind the scenes on this sequence, because this fire effect is insane. The part of it.
I read this too. The pyrotechnics in this were done by the same people who made Backdraft.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
It's a movie about fire with a lot of big, giant, really good-looking explosions. I've never seen that movie, but I've seen shots from it. I don't know if that movie's any good, but it's kind of known for infernos that look really good.
I mean, it has to be a better movie about fire than Firestarter, so
Yeah.
there you go.
I don't want to talk about that. And see, I buy them coming to her funeral and everything at the end because there's no way that she kidnapped the baby if she went to, the trouble of getting set on fire to rescue it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
This kid is really good.
No, he's really good. How often can you say that about kid actors?
Well, I mean, it's a very different performance, but he reminds me a little bit of the little girl in The Crow, who also kind of has that. Where it's like, how are you this good? Although she's a little older, I think. Like it's maybe more impressive with this kid because he looks what 7?
Yeah, like 8.
8. He's not
range.
very old, or he might be 10 playing that young if he just looks that young. But
that's just Gary Coleman.
This movie moves at a clip too, right?
Yeah. No, there's no real fluff. Like it knows what it wants and it does it.
And it has that in common also with The Fly, which we talked about a lot. With that, it gets in, gets out. It doesn't have that cut to credits thing that has, but
yeah. We get to have some more scenes.
This ending is perfect.
Yeah. No, it's just funny that the last 2 weeks we've obviously last week was the 24-hour stream, but the last 2 like horror weeks we've done for this month have been like horror tragedy things.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I need in my horror is I need a protagonist, or I guess in the case of The Fly he kind of serves is both.
Mm-hmm.
I need a really tragic protagonist as opposed to someone that I want to see die or that just gets lucky.
Yeah. Well, it can't just be a tragedy thing because you don't like Halloween Ends.
Oh. I don't like Halloween Ends because it's really horribly written.
I know it's a tragedy. So, Cap, you used to work at a funeral home. Could you take somebody that badly burned and make them look like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, um it would be very unusual to have an open casket funeral.
I don't think it was open
And my
casket. You
assumption
just
is
see
that,
in the
well, you
casket.
don't have any way of.
Oh well, and then you wouldn't do it if it wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what is kind of weird about it, is why is she made up so well if they didn't go well, and here's the thing too. The funeral doesn't have to be open casket. They could have had a visitation
Yeah.
and then had a closed casket. So they could have an open casket for the visitation, which most people outside of funeral homes refer to as wakes, but they're typically called visitations in a funeral home. And then I still know things about this. And then you'd close it for the funeral. And yeah, no, you're right. He stayed with her just because she's not wearing a bra.
Yeah, when I was watching this, I laughed so hard when she walked out, and you can like so clearly tell. And then she walks into the kitchen, and she's cutting meat, and it's like, she's so stupid.
And I'm even okay with that quick flashback for the contrast. I don't always like that.
No, I think it works. This
Boy,
woman's so stupid. She's tapping the knife blade on her hand.
I thought it was going to go off the rails all of a sudden. I thought she was going to murder him.
Oh no, she's barely sentient. I don't think she could make choices like that.
I'm not buying she can make a salad.
Yeah. It's like how NPCs don't typically kill other NPCs in a video game.
That's great. No, so again, I only saw this movie the one time. I'm sometimes going to mention silly reads that I had. I definitely was not right about she's already dead because they have a body.
Mhm.
So it couldn't have been that. I think I latched onto that line too hard. Okay, is this too contrived? Like, do we buy that he says it 5 times?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely convenient, but I think it works for what they're doing.
I love her look as a horror film character, and the only thing I would want from a sequel from this is to keep going with her, honestly. Like, and I know people would probably think I'm nuts because, like, Tony Todd, it's Candyman. I get that, but, like, spin her off, man. Like, if you have to do another one, why is that knife so big?
Because it's funnier if she has a giant knife.
Matthew Mace, another $5 super chat. Cap, I would really like to hear your thoughts on The Exorcist. Would you believe I've never seen The Exorcist?
If I knew that, I would have picked The Exorcist for one of these weeks.
Oh, really?
I didn't know you've never seen The Exorcist.
Is that the third one? Will that be my trilogy? Will I like that movie?
I think you would really like The Exorcist because it's like just a movie about people, and then like all the exorcism stuff that people remember from that movie is basically just the climax. That movie's awesome. I think you would like that a lot.
Is it thinky?
Yeah, it's definitely not kinky, so it's definitely thinky.
Is it thinky? Robert Wilde, it is a shame they never brought her back. Oh, okay, so I'm not alone.
No, okay.
But do you agree with me that could have been cool?
Sorry, go ahead.
What did you say? I missed that. I'm sorry.
I said, you know what? We're watching Exorcist right now.
Do you agree with me though that could be cool if you did it right?
What? Spin off with her?
Where she's the villain.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably do that.
I like her too much. I don't know. It's my new favorite actress. I've decided.
Yeah, but it would be like Candyman. She'd barely be in it.
That's sure, but I mean that's all right. Because I mean, she's dead. It's the only unless she did that terrible sounding prequel, it's the only way I get her again. Okay, so I'm not gonna get to see how long these credits are because Peacock already shut it down on me. So
Oh, at
yeah,
least you're not going to get to see the lame after credits scene.
there's not a lame after credit scene for
Okay.
Candyman. Shut up.
Did you watch through the credits the first time?
I didn't.
So you wouldn't know
But there's not though.
that.
There's no way there is. And I'm not going to do the equivalent of looking down at my shoes because you said they were untied either. I know it's not there. There's no way it's there.
Okay, but when you try to take a step forward and you trip, who's going to have egg on their face?
You mixed that metaphor so hard.
But so good, though. I mixed it better than she mixed that salad.
No one needs to own a knife that big unless they're an actual butcher.
Well, especially, like, when you're also holding the knife and going on your own hand.
This was a lot of fun, and I like that movie a lot.
Title designed by Heart X Coffee Cup equals Lightning Bolt. What? What was that credit?
I
It was
don't know. I
literally-
can't see it.
No, I know. It was literally just like drawn pictures of these things. Like it was like a heart, a plus symbol, a coffee cup equals Thunderbolts. Well, that was really weird. I've never seen a company credited like that. Get an actual name.
I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. So next week we're gonna do another poll. We haven't set it up yet, so we don't have any idea what things we're doing yet. I think Austin's already picked his. I don't know what I'm gonna pick yet.
No, I picked mine already. Although, no, I won't throw on The Exorcist. It's fine. I'll wait for next year, but it's coming, Kev. It's coming.
And then in a couple weeks, we're gonna have to table the polls so that we can review the Weird Al movie, which I'm really excited about.
Yep.
That'll be a Friday night. Is the plan right now? Could change, but.
No,
Anyway,
it's exciting.
let me also, for folks that are with us right now, mention that originally my plan was to do a superhero rewind on Monday, and then I realized, oh wait, that's Halloween, and I'm just not going to be able to because I'm going to be watching movies with my kids and stuff. So I'm going to take this week off for the holiday for superhero rewind and go ahead and do Mystery of the Batwoman the week after. That's my plan. And then the week after that, I'll actually do the top 10 scores video with DJ at DJ's place. We'll just wait and do it while I'm there.
Oh, it's awesome.
So that'll be cool.
Do you know what you're going to watch with the kids for Halloween?
Well, and I said kids, probably just Jason. He and I'll stay up and watch something.
Oh, and I wasn't sure if it was like, oh, all the kids, let's watch Hocus Pocus.
It wouldn't be that, because I'd rather drink lighter fluid. But we're going to. I may pick something for them during the day, but Jason and I, after trick or treating and stuff, we'll stay up and watch something.
Yeah, for sure.
He thinks maybe he wants to go ahead and finally finish Psycho, so that might be what we're doing, but I'm not sure yet.
Nice. It's a solid choice.
It'll be something out of the 14 movies we mentioned on Father and Son last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a good video. I liked that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we're having fun with those. I don't know if we're going to be able to get away with doing lists every week like Jason wants to. Like, I'm waiting to run out real early. But
Well, I need you guys to make a top 15 movies you want to watch on Christmas.
Oh, no.
And it better have tons of Rankin Bass specials.
We'll have... Might all be, like, not Christmas movies at all. Like, not even related to Christmas. They'll just be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Exorcist will be on there.
On Christmas. Hey, Ray, thanks a lot. For... I pick movies that just have some scene with snow in them, and that's all.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you had a good time with us. Austin, I've really been enjoying these commentaries, man. And thanks for enlightening me with these movies that I was really remiss in not having seen.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, I'm glad you liked them, because, like I said, The Fly I figured you'd like. And then this one, it was like, you'll like it, but not as much as The Fly. And then there's that odd chance. You never know.
Yeah, which is like technically true, but it's really good.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
I like both of them enough to buy them.
Hmm. Well, I
And
figured
I
you.
discovered my new favorite actress.
Yeah. No, I guess that's one thing that this can have over The Fly is you already know Gina Davis, so you
Yeah,
already know she's not your favorite actress.
and I like her fine, but I just realized that this actress is my favorite actress now. Not actually. I'm
Well,
kidding.
this woman has more credits than Gina Davis.
It's
This
true.
much. Although,
Was it
you know
Virginia
what?
Madsen? I'm gonna have to keep saying it so I can remember her name.
Although you know what Gina Davis was in
Uh
the Exorcist TV show.
oh, really?
It's all connected.
We're gonna get going. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this is Austin, the Day Ghost. Bye, everybody.
Bye.